First contact misconceptions. The crystalline walls of the Celestial Voyager's medical bay reflected Lieutenant Raj Patel's image 1,000 times over as Dr. Venn conducted his monthly physical examination. The gelatinous medical officer's transparent body pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that Raj had learned indicated a mix of fascination and concern. Remarkable, Venn's translated voice hummed through the ship's communication system. Your skeletal structure continues to perplex me. How do you maintain mobility with such rigid internal support? Raj suppressed a sigh. After 6 months aboard the Celestial Voyager, he'd grown accustomed to being treated like a scientific curiosity. As the first human to serve on an interstellar Confederation vessel, he'd expected some degree of scrutiny. What he hadn't anticipated was the constant underestimation of human capabilities. The same way I did last month, Doctor, Raj replied, keeping his tone professional. Our bones are quite efficient for our gravity range. From across the medical bay, Chief Engineer Knox's antennae twitched in what Raj had come to recognize as amusement. The insectoid engineer had stopped by ostensibly to discuss maintenance schedules, but Raj knew better. These medical examinations had become something of a spectacle among the crew. Did you know, Knox chittered to Venn, that their neural pathways require regular periods of unconsciousness? They call it sleep. Highly inefficient. Indeed, Venn pulsed in agreement. And their temperature regulation system is remarkably primitive. External cooling through liquid secretion? How did they ever achieve spaceflight? Raj focused on maintaining his composure as he pulled his uniform back on. The constant commentary on human limitations had become a daily occurrence aboard the ship. The crew didn't mean any harm, they simply couldn't comprehend how a species they considered physically inferior had managed to join their ranks. Captain Xyrix's crystalline form shimmered into view at the medical bay's entrance, each facet of her body refracting the overhead lights in complex patterns. Dr. Venn, your report on our human crew member? Fascinating as always, Captain. Despite their biological constraints, Lieutenant Patel's vital signs remain stable. Though I still recommend limiting his exposure to high-stress situations. Raj stood, squaring his shoulders. Captain, with respect, I've been cleared for all standard duties by both Earth Medical Command and the Confederation Board. My biological constraints haven't hindered my performance. Xyrix's crystalline surface rippled in what might have been skepticism. Of course, Lieutenant. However, we must consider the unique challenges your species faces. The Celestial Voyager operates in conditions that would be extreme even for more advanced species. Before Raj could respond, the ship's warning system pulsed to life. Attention all crew. Anomalous readings detected in the primary power core. Engineering team to report immediately. Knox's antennae straightened in alarm. Impossible. I just completed a full diagnostic cycle. Lieutenant Patel, remain in medical for observation, Captain Xyrix ordered. These situations can be stressful for your kind. Raj watched them hurry from the medical bay, their dismissal of his capabilities evident in every word and gesture. He'd encountered this attitude throughout his career, the assumption that humans were somehow less capable, less evolved, less prepared for the challenges of deep space. Little did they know that humanity's greatest strength lay not in biological superiority, but in their ability to overcome seemingly impossible odds. As the warning lights continued to pulse, Raj had a feeling his crew mates would soon learn this lesson firsthand. The ship shuddered slightly, and Raj's trained senses picked up a subtle change in the engine's harmonic frequency, something his alien colleagues, for all their advanced biology, might have missed. Without waiting for permission, he headed for engineering. Sometimes the best way to prove oneself was through action rather than words. Behind him, Dr. Venn's protests about human fragility faded into the background. Raj allowed himself a small smile. They would learn soon enough that humans were anything but fragile. Storm on the horizon. The engineering deck of the celestial Voyager hummed with an unsettling frequency that made Raj's teeth ache. He'd learned to trust his body's natural reactions to environmental changes, something his alien colleagues often dismissed as primitive instinct. Chief Engineer Knox stood before the main control interface, all four arms moving in precise patterns across the holographic displays while their antennae twitched in agitation. These readings make no sense. The power core's quantum matrix is showing fluctuations that shouldn't be possible. Raj moved to a secondary console, noting the strange patterns in the energy distribution network. Permission to access the core diagnostics, Chief? Knox's compound eyes shifted briefly in his direction. Lieutenant Patel, Captain Zyrex ordered you to remain in medical. Your biological systems are not equipped to handle quantum core stress emissions. With respect, Chief, Raj replied, already entering commands into the console. I spent 3 years maintaining quantum cores on Europa Station. The human nervous system is surprisingly good at detecting subtle harmonic disruptions. The ship shuddered again, more violently this time. Through the transparent walls of engineering, Raj watched as Science Officer Talara's ethereal form drifted in, her energy-based body flickering with concern. The anomalous readings are spreading. We're detecting similar patterns in all major systems. Raj studied the diagnostic data, a theory forming in his mind. The pattern seemed familiar, reminiscent of something he'd encountered during his Europa Station days. Chief Knox, can you show me the sensor logs from the last 12 hours? Knox chittered in frustration but transferred the data to Raj's station. The insectoid engineer's pride was clearly warring with their growing concern over the ship's condition. As Raj analyzed the logs, Talara moved closer, her energy field causing the hairs on his arms to stand up. Fascinating. Your epidermal response suggests sensitivity to electromagnetic fluctuations. Perhaps humans are not as neurologically simple as our initial studies indicated. We're full of surprises, Raj muttered, focusing on the data. There, in the background, radiation readings. A pattern so subtle that even the ship's advanced AI had missed it. Chief, look at this. The quantum fluctuations didn't start in the core. They're being induced by something external. Impossible, Knox declared, but their antennae had stopped twitching, a sign Raj had learned indicated intense focus. Our shielding is designed to prevent any external influence on core systems. Unless, Raj suggested, pulling up a theoretical model, we're dealing with a quantum resonance cascade. The kind that can occur when passing through the wake of a recent supernova. Talara's form pulsed with sudden understanding. The Helios remnant. We adjusted our course to study it 3 days ago. But our calculations showed we would pass well outside its influence sphere. Those calculations, Raj said carefully, were based on standard models for quantum wake behavior. But human scientists discovered something interesting during the Beta Centauri disaster. Supernova remnants can create quantum eddies, like whirlpools in spacetime. They're nearly impossible to detect until you're caught in one. The ship lurched sharply, sending tools clattering to the deck. Warning lights flashed as multiple systems began reporting failures. Captain Zyrex's voice crackled over the comm system, her crystalline tones sharp with concern. Engineering, report. Knox began rattling off technical data, but Raj was already moving. He'd seen this before. The cascade would build exponentially, and they had minutes at most before. A blinding flash lit up engineering as an energy conduit overloaded. Raj's human reflexes, supposedly so much slower than his alien colleagues, had him moving before conscious thought. He tackled Talara's energy form, pushing her clear as the conduit exploded. His uniform's protective layer prevented the worst of the burns, but he felt the heat sear across his back. Impossible! Knox exclaimed, staring at Raj with all 4 eye clusters. Your reaction speed, you shouldn't have been able to. No time, Raj grunted, pushing himself up. The cascade is accelerating. If we don't stabilize the core in the next few minutes, we'll have a quantum breach. And trust me, none of us want to see what that looks like. Captain Xyrix appeared in engineering, her crystalline form refracting the warning lights in a dazzling display. Our options, Chief Engineer. Noxa's antennae drooped, a clear sign of distress. The standard protocols aren't working. The cascade is beyond anything our systems were designed to handle. Not beyond everything, Raj interjected, already implementing emergency procedures he'd helped develop after Beta Centauri. Captain, I need direct access to the core control systems. What I'm about to try isn't in any Confederation manual, but it's worked before. Xyrix's crystalline surface rippled with uncertainty. Lieutenant, the core chamber's radiation levels are beyond safe limits for your species. Another explosion rocked the ship. More warning lights flashed as critical systems began failing. Raj met his captain's gaze steadily. With respect, Captain, we're beyond worrying about safe limits. Let me help save our ship. In the tense moment that followed, Raj saw something change in Xyrix's crystalline patterns. Perhaps it was the realization that their preconceptions about human capabilities had been wrong. Or maybe it was simply the recognition that desperate times required desperate measures. Do it, she ordered, her tone carrying both command and concern. But Lieutenant, prove our assumptions wrong. Survive this. Raj nodded grimly as he began entering override codes. Around him, the ship's systems continued to fail, and the quantum cascade built toward critical levels. They were about to learn exactly what a human could endure when pushed to their limits. Trial by fire. The core chamber of the celestial Voyager pulsed with deadly radiation as Raj worked. Sweat dripped down his face, each breath burning in his lungs as the environment systems struggled to maintain survivable conditions. The protective suit he wore, designed for much hardier alien species, was already showing signs of deterioration. Lieutenant, your vital signs are reaching critical levels, Dr. Ven's concerned voice came through the comm. The radiation exposure alone should have incapacitated you by now. Probably, Raj grunted, fingers flying over the manual control interface. The quantum cascade had knocked out most automated systems, forcing him to make adjustments by hand. But humans are pretty good at ignoring what should be impossible. Through the chamber's observation window, he could see his alien colleagues watching with a mixture of horror and fascination. Chief Noxa's antennae were completely still, a sign of shock he'd never witnessed before. Captain Xyrix's crystalline form had taken on a deep blue hue that seemed to indicate concern. Another surge rocked the ship, sending Raj stumbling against the core housing. Warning klaxons blared as the cascade approached critical levels. The radiation meters were now showing readings that would be lethal to most known species. The containment field is failing, Talara reported, her energy form flickering anxiously. Lieutenant, you must evacuate immediately. No organic being can survive those conditions. Raj smiled grimly as he initiated the emergency protocols he'd helped develop. You'd be surprised what humans can survive. We evolved on a death world, remember? Radiation, extreme temperatures, crushing gravity, they're practically old friends. He could feel his skin blistering from the heat, his muscles screaming in protest as he forced them to keep moving. But there was something else too, something his alien colleagues couldn't understand. Human bodies had an incredible capacity for pushing beyond their supposed limits when necessary. Core breach imminent, the ship's AI announced dispassionately. Evacuate all personnel. Almost there, Raj muttered, implementing the final stage of his plan. Captain, on my mark, I need you to initiate a full power cycling sequence. It'll be rough, but it should disrupt the cascade. The power cycling will release another radiation surge, Nox chittered in alarm. Your body cannot dash. Do it. Raj commanded, bracing himself against the core housing. Now. The ship's lights died as power drained from all systems. For a moment, everything was silent and dark. Then, with a sound like thunder, energy surged back through the systems. The radiation spike hit Raj like a physical blow, driving him to his knees. But he kept his position, hands locked on the manual controls, fighting to maintain the precise sequence needed to break the cascade. Through blurred vision, he watched the core's quantum matrix realign itself. The deadly resonance patterns began to fade, replaced by the normal, steady pulse of a healthy power core. They'd done it. Core stabilizing, Talara announced, her tone carrying clear amazement. The cascade is collapsing, impossible. You actually did it. Raj tried to respond, but his legs wouldn't cooperate as he attempted to stand. The room spun lazily around him as the adrenaline began to fade, replaced by the reality of what his body had just endured. He felt himself falling, only to be caught by Chief Nox's strong arms. I don't understand, the insectoid engineer said as they helped him toward the exit. Our medical data indicated humans couldn't survive even half of what you just endured. Your species profile is incomplete, Raj managed through gritted teeth. Humans, we're not just about biological capabilities. We adapt. We endure. He stumbled again as his vision began to dim. Get him to medical immediately, Captain Xyrix ordered, her crystalline form now a deep purple of respect. And update his species profile. Add a new classification, Deathworlder, Class A. As consciousness faded, Raj heard Dr. Ven's amazed voice, remarkable. Their bodies don't just endure, they actually become stronger from stress exposure. Perhaps we've been underestimating. The rest was lost as Raj finally allowed himself to pass out, knowing the ship and crew were safe. He'd proven what humans could do, not through words or arguments, but through action. Sometimes, that was the only way to change deeply held beliefs. In the med bay, as the alien medical staff worked to treat injuries that should have been fatal, the crew of the Celestial Voyager began to understand something their data had never shown them. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their biology, but in their indomitable will to survive, to protect, to exceed every limitation others placed upon them. Beyond physical limits. The soft hum of medical equipment filled the recovery ward as Raj slowly regained consciousness. His entire body ached, a reminder of the radiation and heat he'd endured in the core chamber. Through half-opened eyes, he could see Dr. Ven's gelatinous form pulsing with rapid patterns of blue and green. Extraordinary, the medical officer murmured, reviewing holographic readings that floated in the air. Your cellular regeneration rate has increased by 300%. Your species actually grows stronger from survival situations. We call it adaptation, Raj managed, his voice rough. Been doing it since we crawled out of the primordial soup. A crystalline chime announced Captain Xyrix's arrival. Her surface now shimmered with patterns Raj had never seen before, complex fractal designs that seemed to indicate deep thought or perhaps respect. Lieutenant Patel, she began, then paused. Raj. The Confederation Science Council has reviewed the data from our quantum cascade incident. They've requested permission to update the official human species profile. It seems we had incomplete information about your capabilities. Raj attempted to sit up, wincing as his burned skin protested. Captain, Please, she interrupted, her crystalline surface rippling. Let me finish. When we accepted a human crew member, many believed it was a diplomatic gesture at best, a liability at worst. We were wrong. Through the medical bay's transparent walls, Raj could see other crew members gathering. Chief Nox's antennae were curved in what he now recognized as embarrassment. Talara's energy form glowed with a warm, respectful frequency. The quantum cascade should have destroyed us, Xyrix continued. Our most advanced systems, our evolved capabilities, our technological superiority, none of it mattered in the end. What saved this ship was something we had dismissed as primitive, human determination. Dr. Ven's form pulsed with excitement. The medical implications alone are fascinating. Your species' ability to push beyond normal physical limitations, to adapt to extreme conditions, it's unprecedented. We've been studying your biology all wrong. Instead of looking at baseline capabilities, we should have been examining your potential for growth. That's humanity in a nutshell, Raj said, managing a small smile. We're not the strongest, fastest, or most advanced. But we never stop pushing boundaries. A sudden alert caught everyone's attention. Warning lights flashed as the ship's AI announced, "Unknown energy signature detected. Impact imminent." Raj instinctively tried to rise, but his injured body refused to cooperate. Captain Xyrix placed a crystalline hand on his shoulder. "Rest, Lieutenant. Let us handle this one. We've learned from your example." The ship shuddered as something struck the outer hull. Through the medical bay windows, Raj watched as his alien crewmates sprang into action. But something was different now. Instead of relying solely on their advanced technology and evolved capabilities, they were adapting, improvising, thinking beyond their usual parameters. Chief Knox was bypassing safety protocols, pushing systems beyond their rated capacities, something they would never have considered before. Talara's energy form was pulsing at frequencies that should have been harmful, scanning the unknown threat with unprecedented intensity. "Fascinating," Dr. Ven observed, monitoring the activity. "They're emulating your methods. Taking calculated risks, pushing beyond normal limitations. Your influence has changed more than just our understanding of humans." "That's another thing we're good at," Raj said, watching with pride as his crew worked. "We don't just adapt ourselves, we help others adapt too. Sometimes all it takes is showing what's possible." The ship's lights flickered as the unknown energy signature intensified. But this time, Raj saw no panic in his alien colleagues' responses. Instead, there was a new determination, a willingness to face the impossible that hadn't been there before. "Perhaps," Captain Xyrix mused, her crystalline form refracting emergency lights in a dazzling display, "this is why the Confederation needs human crew members. Not for your physical capabilities, but for your ability to show us new ways of thinking, new possibilities we never considered." As if to emphasize her point, Chief Knox's voice came over the comm, "Energy signature contained. Using modified version of Lieutenant Patel's core stabilization technique. It's unconventional, but effective." Raj leaned back in his medical bed, a mixture of pain and pride washing over him. They'd learned more than just respect for human capabilities, they'd learned to question their own limitations, to look beyond established protocols and sophisticated technology to find new solutions. Strength in differences. 1 month after the quantum cascade incident, the Celestial Voyager's mess hall had become almost unrecognizable. Where once different species had clustered separately, now the crews mixed freely. At the center of it all sat Raj, still bearing the faint scars of his encounter with the core chamber, surrounded by a diverse group of alien colleagues. "Tell us again about these extreme sports humans practice," a junior engineer named Clix chittered, their carapace gleaming with interest. "You willingly jump from high altitudes with only a fabric device to slow your descent? Skydiving?" Raj grinned. "That's just the beginning. Wait until you hear about free climbing." Dr. Ven's gelatinous form rippled with what had become genuine fascination rather than clinical interest. "Your species' drive to deliberately seek out challenging situations continues to astound me. Yet I'm beginning to understand its value." The doctor's medical bay had been transformed as well. Where once human biology was studied as a curiosity or limitation, now it was examined as a model for adaptation and resilience. Several alien crew members had even begun voluntary stress exposure programs, carefully designed to enhance their own adaptive capabilities. Captain Xyrix approached their table, her crystalline form now permanently bearing the complex patterns of respect that had appeared after the Cascade incident. "Lieutenant Patel, a moment of your time?" Raj followed her to a quiet corner of the mess hall. Through the viewport, strange and beautiful nebulae drifted past, a reminder of why they all chose to venture into the unknown. The Confederation Council has reached a decision, Zyrex began, her tone carrying an unusual warmth. Based on our reports and data from the Cascade incident, they're implementing a new initiative. Every Confederation vessel will now be required to have at least one human crew member. Raj raised an eyebrow. That's unexpected. I thought the Council considered humans too unpredictable. They did. We all did. Zyrex's surface rippled with amusement. But your actions proved something we'd forgotten in our pursuit of technological advancement. True progress often comes from embracing the unexpected, the unconventional, even what we once considered primitive. Across the mess hall, Chief Knox was demonstrating to a group of fascinated crew members how they'd modified several ship systems based on Raja's improvised solutions during the crisis. The changes weren't just technical, there was a new energy among the crew, a willingness to question, to experiment, to push boundaries. There's more, Zyrex continued. The Council wants to establish a joint training program. Not to teach humans our ways, as originally planned, but to foster an exchange of perspectives. They believe the combination of our advanced technology and your species' unique approach to problems could revolutionize space exploration. Talara drifted over, her energy form glowing with excitement. We've already seen the effects. Our efficiency ratings have improved by 47% since implementing what we now call the human factor in our problem-solving protocols. Raj smiled, remembering the early days when his every action was met with skepticism and concern. And to think, 6 months ago you were all worried I'd break if the artificial gravity hiccuped. We were blind, Knox admitted, joining the conversation. We saw your species' physical characteristics as limitations rather than adaptations. We measured your worth by our standards rather than recognizing the strength in our differences. The ship's AI interrupted with an announcement: unusual gravitational anomaly detected in Sector 7. All senior staff to their stations. Raj stood, noting with satisfaction how his colleagues now looked to him with anticipation rather than concern. They'd learned that humanity's greatest contribution wasn't in matching alien capabilities, but in offering new perspectives, new ways of approaching challenges. Well, he said, heading for his station, shall we show the universe what humans and aliens can accomplish together? As the crew moved to their posts, there was a new energy in their steps, a shared understanding that had been forged in crisis and strengthened in recovery. The Celestial Voyager had become more than just a Confederation vessel, it was a testament to the power of looking beyond appearances, beyond assumptions, beyond the comfortable limitations of established thinking. The stars stretched out before them, infinite and inviting, holding countless challenges and mysteries. But now they faced them not as separate species with rigid hierarchies of capability, but as a unified crew that had learned to value each member's unique strengths. In the end, they had discovered something profound. True strength wasn't about physical capabilities or technological advancement. It was about the willingness to adapt, to learn from each other, and to recognize that sometimes the most primitive-seeming solution could be the most revolutionary. As the Celestial Voyager ventured deeper into uncharted space, it carried with it a new truth: in the vast expanse of the cosmos, there was no such thing as a lesser species, only different ways of being strong.